On this episode of I'm Probably Allergic to That, we will be collecting African daisies. I can't find anybody else who has been dying with those, so why not us? Experimentation and science. We're doing it. I feel comfortable robbing from these because some of them are just about done and there's a bunch more about to open. So I don't think I'm robbing any life on the back hill. Okay, for the sake of science, we're going to weigh this out. We know that the thingy is 250, 357, so we'll call it 100 grams. Okay, so I kind of saturated them so they all won't float. I'm just leaving the green parts in there. I don't know, somebody else might pull all of that planty bits off, but I don't know, maybe it helps, maybe it doesn't. I couldn't find a video of anybody else doing this nonsense but me. So here we are doing it together. So I'm gonna put these, and I think I may have overheated the last one because there's a lot of argument as to what is simmering, what is boiling, and what old ladies call that. Because they will argue and be like, it's at a boil, and I'm like, that's at a simmer, or that's at a simmer, and I'm like, that's a raging boil. So I think I'm going to stick with low and slow temperatures on these and hope I don't bork up the colors again. But I'm going to do this and we'll see what comes out of the dye bath in about an hour. If the color that my glove just turned is any indication that that will be pigmented, it will be. My glove is orange compared to the other one. I think we'll get some pigment out of that. That's the glove that was just in the water versus not. Yay, orange. Oh, that reminds me, I have to go steal loquat leaves when the neighbor leaves. He has a loquat tree with dried leaves, and apparently that makes like really, really peachy colors. And obviously I'm going to go steal his plants. I don't want to talk to him. He wouldn't care if I did talk to him. I don't want to talk to him. Okay, this has been just below simmer for like an hour, I would say. I don't think it was ever properly boiling, so that's probably good. But I also don't feel like these look as used up as they should. Like the other flowers looked genuinely used up when they were done being dyed. So I might turn this up just a little for like the last 20 minutes and then let it cool. And then also my protein fibers, meaning the wool and alpaca yarns, have arrived, and so I'm going to mordant or pre-soak those so that they can be mordanted tomorrow or tonight, maybe tonight. We'll see how they soak. Okay, I'm going to turn this up. It's possible that I've over-purchased yarn, but luckily I got yarns that are easy to tell apart. So there's cotton, just plain 100% cotton. This has all been scoured. These are prepared for dye fibers. I got this really cool like tweed here, and viscose is a natural fiber, but it is like a vegetable fiber, so it won't uptake the dye the same way. So just have to be aware of that. And then I got this one, which is called Swish, and it's just super fine merino wool, and it's easy to tell apart from the others. And then the last one, it's like baby alpaca. Where'd it go? Where's the alpaca? Here it is. Andean Treasure. Baby alpaca. And that's like wonderfully soft. So soft. So we're going to pre-soak these so we can mordant them later. And we'll get to learn why cream of tartar is a mordant that we use with wool. Okay, they are being held down by a pot lid and bubbling as they lose air bubbles from between their weaves. I gave everything a good squish before I put it in there as well. So we will leave those children and check on our dye. Okay, I definitely think that it looks a little more spent, and it's definitely a pretty bright orangey yellow color against the spoon. So I think we'll turn it off and let it sit overnight, just like we did with the lilacs. This one didn't smell so much like floral, it just smelled green. It was not as weird smelling, I will say that. but I think we did pretty good. So I'll just kind of mush it up, make sure all the dye is out, and leave it until tomorrow. Okay, so we have our cold water mordant ready to go for the night. I don't know if this will stiffen it like regular alum, but we shall see. Good night. Good morning, everybody. We have our mordanted fibers in here. We're going to try and mordant the protein yarns cold because I'm very anxious about boiling them and having them risk felting together. The other yarns that are cotton, I might just try to boil because I think those ones you must boil as far as the ones that are sitting in pre-soak for the mordant. And then we're going to try and strain out and dye with the African Daisies this morning. And we'll do some yarn as well as the fabrics that we mordanted yesterday, last time. Don't know what day it is. We'll figure it out. Okay, let me get all set up. So here is the dye we poured off from the African Daisies. It's like a nice bright orange. I somehow ended up with much more either water or juice from them, but I'm going to put that into the pot for dyeing. Okay, so these are all of the pre-mordanted fibers. We're going to be brave and do a couple skeins of yarn. One of them is wool. I tried to pick the one that sounded the most hardy. There's no proof of any of that. It sounded good. Then we have our aluminum triformate mordanted yarns that are going to go cure in the fridge. And I used all the same shapes of fabric as the lilac dye. So we're ready to go for the African Daisies. Okay, so I kept this below a boil for like, gosh, probably over an hour. And it looks more colored than it is in the video here. So I gotta switch hands. So I'm wondering if this is just like a very gentle dye. It's possible. But I think I might do something fun and do like an iron bath and see if I can alter it a little bit. Because I think I put 2 samples each of each fabric so I could dip one and not dip the other in some iron mordant. But I don't think it's going to get any darker. It's just a very gentle color. Well, now we know why they don't dye very often with African Daisies, because apparently it doesn't do that much. But we could probably, oh, I bet I could use my Saxon Blue on the fiber. Okay, glove time. Okay, so what we are currently going to do is make a modifying bath. I don't know if I made this a thing in the month, but I'll teach you about it later. But this is a modifier. This is ferrous sulfate. It has been ground up super fine, so it dissolves really well in water. I read a bunch of reviews for it on Amazon that said it was great for their dyeing. Now, because we only need 1% of the weight of the fiber, we need like none of this. So I'm going to put like as few grains as I possibly can in there of this. And then we're going to dip our other ones and see how they look with the African Daisy dye that's kind of yellow. So we're going to try and see if we can turn it a different color. It's funny because the actual term is called saddening a dye when you add iron, because it will generally blacken it. So they call it saddening the dye. So we're going to sadden our African Daisies. Okay, I'm set up. There's some ferrous sulfate dissolved in here. You can see the color has changed in the water as it dissolved. I'm letting it sit a little bit so it's dissolved. To the best of my understanding, the reason that we don't wash the fibers that we want to alter is because we want to change the pH of the fiber. And if we rinse it in a pH neutral solution, there will be nothing to react with. So that is why we don't wash it before we put it into here. So the ones that are not going into here are going to get washed. The ones that are going into here are not getting washed first. So I'm going to do that and I will get back to you. I also wanted to make it clear that it is important to note that the reason we use so little of this is because it actually weakens your fibers. It's not good for it. I believe it is acidic. So it does actually weaken protein fibers. So you don't want to be using more than like 2% at any given time because it actually will wreck stuff. And I actually am pulling these out fairly hot because I've decided to do Saxon Blue as a secondary treatment, and it's really good to have nice warm fibers to do that with because the pores are even more open. So I've got one in here, and you can see that we did get some color out of it. It's kind of this like interesting kind of olivey greeny brown. So this is the matching component to that one. There was 2 of these. And I'm going to put it in I'm trying to do it so you can see me do it. The water is hot. Okay, let's see if it modifies it and saddens it. I'm not sure if it happens instantly or if you just like let it go for a minute. So I'm going to let it go for a minute and do the other pieces, and I will update you. Wow, just in the sorting time, check that out. I know that one of them's linen, but look, one is saddening as we speak because, check it out, when I put it in, that's what the color it was compared to those 2. So it is saddening it. And this is such like it looks so brown in the picture, but it's really a really pretty pale greeny yellow. Hopefully it will let me get a better picture of that later, but it's a really kind of neat greeny yellow color. Okay, this is a little better in the color. Look, you could, there with the light shining through it, you can see what a kind of cool yellowy tan color it turned. Is this enough to be worth doing a whole pot of Saxon Blue for? Probably not. So maybe I will save the Saxon Blue for when we do weld. But either way, I will pull these out now that they have saddened. And these ones are washed. But it's a cool color. I like it. Okay, so in the meantime, I took some leftovers and some alum-only mordanted fabric, and it's gonna sit with the lilac stuff on a shelf. But look! There's this, it's like this beautiful greeny yellow. It's still not quite coming through on the camera, but it's like a really nice, there we go. Somehow that gets the color better. But it's this really nice greeny yellow. The cotton's going to be a little more variegated because I didn't untwist it. I was afraid that it would get tangly. But these actually all have a really nice yellow color. But check out the ones that we iron dipped. This one is the linen. Whoa. That happened so fast. And it was exclusively the linen, which was oak gall dyed. So that one is oak gall tannins, and it reacted intensely with the iron, which is great news because we're doing that later in the month. But it also saddened these a lot. So this kind of gives you an idea of the yellow tone that it's not, or the greenish tone that's not coming across in the camera. It's coming through on here. So look at that difference between this yellow and that's a tiny, tiny bit of iron, which admittedly smelled like I was scouring a stainless steel sink when I dumped it out. So I'm going to go hang these in the shade and heat to dry. That's a better representation of the color, but there's some really cool yellow to it that is not coming through from inside the house. Maybe it will look better outside, but I'm going to go hang everybody up. Now you can kind of see this like fun greeny yellow. It's still not quite coming across in the green, but look at how different that is. It's definitely a much more yellowy green than we got before. So I am pretty impressed. Good job, us. We did it. We'll come back when it's all nice and dry. Okay, well here's our second try all done. I'm in a different room of the house. I think it offers better light. So here's our control. This had no mordant on it. The next one is alum only. And this one has a 1% iron bath after as a modifier. This is 10% oak gall tannin. And this one went crazy when it reacted with the iron. So I can see why they use that for iron printing. These ones were all treated, these 4 were all treated with the aluminum triformate. This one we used iron on. But I thought it was so interesting how the wool fiber picked up that beautiful, like springy kind of greeny yellow. It's still a little difficult to pick up, but it's really pretty in person. It's much more springy colored. And then the cotton is still a little bit damp. I learned that it takes a really long time for cotton to dry. And then this is the one that is oak gall plus alum mordant. And it really doesn't look all that much different from, well, I guess it does look a little different from just plain alum. But either way, experiment number 2 done. We did the African Daisies. Now, if you're dyeing and you're feeling a little down on yourself because you feel like you're not getting a ton of color, keep in mind that the controls had almost no color, except in the case of the lilac. That was a bit of a freak. But this is where we started. Look at this. That's a massive difference in every sense of the word and the world. It's a huge difference. And it was enacted in a much more eco-friendly way than going out and buying things that have been commercially dyed. So if you tried anything, I'm proud of you. If you just watched, thank you. Please hit like and subscribe and let me know which one of these was your favorite from all of our experiments. Well, that wraps up African Daisies, and that is our second dye experiment complete.